Welcome back, everyone, to the 5-on-5 Sports Pod. I'm your host, Spencer Schultz. Here with me, Steph Stock and A. Hick. Stock with the big mic once again. Tonight, we'll be discussing some football and basketball, and then we'll also be releasing some separate episodes regarding the upcoming World Cup in Qatar. Without further ado, we got start off with our weekly segment, Talking Out Their Ass. I've got about four candidates here, so I'll let you guys do yours first. Yeah, Steph, Big Mike, why don't you go first?
Uh Mine, I'll save mine for a little bit longer right before the college football segment because it has something to do with that. So I'll let Aaron go.
All right. Well, I've got a couple. Maybe I'll save one of them for college football too, but could even be the same one. But the other one I have, Mike Wilbon tweeting, can Justin Jefferson be mentioned in the same breath as Jerry Rice? Maybe if he gets like 20,000 more yards and is still good when he's 40 years old, maybe then. But like, I'm not trying to take anything away from Jefferson because he's insane and he is arguably the best receiver in the NFL right now. But like, no, he cannot be mentioned in the same breath as Jerry Rice, Mike Wilbon.
Yeah,
Stock, you got any other non-college football ones, Steph?
Not that I could think of off the top of my head now.
All right, mine was Cristiano Ronaldo's recent interview that he chose to sit down with Piers Morgan or whatever. Of all people, that's who he chooses.
First 90 minutes he's had all season.
Yep, and I mean, you can tell throughout the interview, Piers. I mean, I haven't watched it yet. People said it's not as bad as the little snippets made it seem, but yeah, kind of speechless on what he was saying about Man U's new manager. I think Ronaldo's I think he just can't come to terms with him not being the same player he once was. I mean, he can say whatever he wants, but even in the time he's got in the season, he's been a shell of his former self. Even last year's self. Last year, he still bagged 30-plus goals. But yeah, completely shambolic from Ronaldo. Can only imagine if someone like Kyrie or Aaron Rodgers did that in American sports. And I still see people defending Ronaldo, which is just crazy to me. But yeah, that's mine. Anything else for that segment?
I know I'm not a big soccer guy, as we'll touch on in the World Cup videos this week. But when you're saying stuff like that on Ronaldo, I know how big of a Ronaldo fan you used to be. So that means he's going pretty crazy.
Yeah, he basically called out our manager, saying he doesn't respect him, blah, blah, blah. When Ronaldo, earlier this year, he left the game in like the 89th minute. He walked off the bench and headed to the locker room, which he knew was going to cause a stir. Another game, our manager, Ten Hag, asked him to come in, and he said no. I mean, so he's doing it to himself. I don't know who he thinks he is at this point in his career. Yeah, without further ado, let's move into basketball before we get into football. Not too many hot topics on the NBA. I mean, we've discussed the Warriors' early struggles, or I know we did last week, Steph. So not much new to talk about there. They're still struggling. But for now, we'll discuss, I guess, your guys' top title contenders at the moment. Aaron first.
Sorry, I was muted. The last time all three of us talked about this, I think I said the Warriors were still my favorite. That is obviously not the case anymore. I would take the Celtics or Bucks right now out of the East. Bucks would be my favorite. I'd have Celtics number 2. As far as the West goes, I'd probably say the Nuggets. I don't know if I trust the Trailblazers to keep up their current pace, even though I do think when you have Lillard, you will always have a shot in any game just because of what a takeover kind of player he is. But overall, NBA, I think Celtics and Bucks are top 2, Bucks being 1 and Celtics being 2, and I'd have the Bucks as my title favorite right now.
Yeah, for me, the clear top two are Celtics Bucks. I think it's like those two, and then like a gap, and then a bunch of different teams there. Nuggets are involved. I still think the Warriors are involved. Look, it's 14 games in. Like I said last week, it's tough to get up early season, especially after winning a title and it's your fourth one. Um, they'll be fine, I think. I'll be worried by the All-Star break if they haven't figured it out, but I think they will. And so to me, that's still your top three. I still have the Warriors as the favorite coming out of the West.
Aaron had the Bucks. Who would be your favorite for the East?
I'm gonna say the Celtics right now. Obviously they still don't have Robert Williams back, and they're a lot better with Robert Williams as well.
Return to practice today. I think he's playing soon. He might be playing in the next few days.
And Tatum right now is playing at an MVP level. So yeah, I think like in a head-to-head matchup, he can match pretty much equal with Giannis.
Yep, and then Jaylen Brown, Middleton, obviously pretty similar, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then that series, I think that's where obviously like Malcolm Brogdon is a huge acquisition. Their defense hasn't been as good this year, but I think a lot of it has to do with Robert Williams being that anchor in the middle. Yeah, I think the Celtics are the favorites. Best record in the NBA, and they haven't had Robert Williams. But when it comes down to it, Bucks I still like because they have Giannis. Obviously, I agree with you. I think the Warriors probably are still the favorites in the West. Clippers, I feel like at this point I'm out on the Clippers because, at least for now, because of Kawhi. He's played like 2 games.
Yeah, I'm completely out on the Clippers until
I don't know.
Kawhi can show he can even be on the court more than 2 games. And
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I mean, it's more than just load management at this point. I mean, he's missed like a few weeks.
yeah, I mean, a couple weeks ago, Broussard on First Things First said that the Clippers don't even know what was going on. Like they thought it was tendonitis, and now they're like, we don't even know. So who knows?
I like this. I like the way the Suns have looked. I was worried about how they would be chemistry-wise with Ayton. I guess the reason I'm skeptical on them still is CP has shown to take a step back this season. Books looked, I think, a step forward, but I'm just concerned if CP is not the player he was last year. I don't know if they can win the title. Trying to think who else. Grizzlies. I mean, Jaw's taking another step forward. Yeah, I like the Grizzlies a lot. They just got Jaren Jackson back as well. Might still be one piece away, but that's another team to watch.
For sure.
While we're still on the NBA subject, I'll start with mine. Top 5 players in the NBA right now. I was just curious where you guys are at. Kind of always fluctuating. In order. Before the podcast, I was telling Stefan it came down to like 6 guys for me. I got Giannis 1. You guys all have Giannis 1?
Yeah, I think he's the undisputed number 1 right now.
Agreed.
This is where we might go different. Number 2, I've got Luka.
I've got Luka number 2 as well. I'm doing top 5 players right now. Like at this moment, I've got Luka number 2.
I have him 3.
All right, okay, just wait. 3, I've got KD.
We've got the same so far, Spence.
Okay, now you got him 2, Stock?
I got him 4.
Oh, you've got Steph too, don't you?
Best player in the world on the team that just won the title.
See, this is where I got Steph 4, but it gets really hard. I've got Steph 4. Aaron, what do you have?
I actually have Embiid 4.
I originally had Embiid 4. Oh, I've got Steph 4. 5 is between Embiid and Tatum for me.
5 is between. I just have Tatum and Curry for number 5. I cheated.
I'm gonna take Tatum over Embiid. It's a wing league, so I'll take take the wing. But Embiid 6. I got Jokic by 7 too.
So my official top 5, we've kind of gone through it a bit different than I was expecting, but Giannis 1, we all know that. I have Steph 2. He's been absolutely unreal this year. He's on pace to do exactly what he did in his unanimous MVP season through through their first 15 games. After winning the title. And then 3, I have Luka as well. 4, I have KD. And then 5, I have Tatum. Embiid 6, Jokic 7.
You know what's unfortunate about Steph having that kind of a season?
Huh.
Luka's been even better. 34, 9, and 8 on 50% from the field.
Yeah, but he's not shooting 50, 40, 90 like Steph is right now.
I don't care. He's averaging. That might even be more impressive. He's averaging more points, obviously with lesser threes.
Are we sure it's lesser threes, or are we just sure it's not as good of a percentage? Because that's different.
I'm not going to look, but I would be willing to bet Steph averages more attempts. You
Okay.
look up Steph. I'll look up Luka.
Another thing, does anyone know the last time there was this many guys averaging at least 30 points per game? Because like there are so many guys right now that are at least 30 points per game. Like offensive numbers have been ridiculous. Even like SGA, I'm a Thunder fan, and SGA is like effortlessly going out there and scoring 31 a night. And there's a lot of guys like that in the league right now.
Yeah, SGA is taking a step forward. Yeah, stock. Luka's averaging 7.9 attempts. Steph's at 11.5.
Yeah, Steph has 153s in
Jeez.
13 games.
Also, Luka, I mean, you can say that Curry is the Warriors right now, but like come playoff time, I think they have a lot more pieces. Luka is the Mavericks. Like the Mavericks are so pathetic without Luka. It's not even funny.
So, who would round out your top 10? I'd say 8 through 10. I said Jokic 7. I don't know what you guys.
I have Jokic 7.
I'd have Jokic 7 too. I didn't do my top 10, but I'd have Jokic there.
Without really like paying attention, Ja's in the top 10.
Ja's up there.
8. I'd probably put Book 9.
What's his numbers so far this year?
He's averaging 26.5, 5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 48%, 38%.
I don't know. SGA low key better right now.
Yeah, if SJ can do it longer, I'll consider him for the conversation.
He's averaging 31.5, 54% shooting, 4.5 rebounds, nearly 6 assists, and he's doing stuff that hasn't like if he can do it for a full season, he'd be the first guard since Jordan to average this many points while shooting 54% and also getting like 2 blocks and 2 steals a game.
So
which is pretty ridiculous.
Obviously, is there some kind of names that are in the conversation? Ja, obviously. Book.
Braun would be 10 for me.
Braun is still in the conversation.
LeBron is still a top 10 player no matter what anyone says, but he's just farther down.
I'm putting Trae Young in that conversation. I'm putting Dame in that conversation. His numbers in the regular season. This is the hardest player in basketball to rank, in my opinion. Jimmy Butler, because he is in the regular season. He's 21-5, but the postseason rolls around and he is a consensus top 10 player.
Yeah, it's kind of like Kawhi. His regular season numbers don't really justify his impact, I guess.
Also, I would say Jimmy Butler is a better player than like Trae Young, just because Jimmy Butler can absolutely clamp anyone on defense. Trae Young is a liability on defense.
I'd agree. I'm trying to think. I'm looking at.
Is Harden still in the conversation?
Donovan Mitchell, 32 a game right now, 32, 5, and 6 on 51, 43, 88.
Yeah,
that's in the conversation for sure.
I think Harden is like possibly top 15, but I don't think he's top 10.
You know who's creeping? Oh, dude, he is so good. He's not even close to the top 10 conversation yet, but 21, 5, and 10 on 48, 43, 86. Tyrese Halliburton.
Tyrese Halliburton is, yeah.
But yeah,
First of all, De'Aaron Fox is playing well, but that's still just such a weird trade to me. But Tyrese Halliburton is actually a star now.
Yeah, Aaron, that you're right about more people scoring 30 points a game than you've ever seen. Like, we have 8 people averaging over 30.
Yeah, I can't think of a time that there's usually like a few guys. I really can't think of a time.
Not this late into the season.
We'll see at season's end, but I can't think of a time this deep into the season that there was more than like 3 guys averaging that.
Yeah, like KD is 8th and he's averaging 30.3.
Yeah, most years that's enough to get you the scoring title. Actually, pretty much every year for the past, like the entire 21st century, that could get you the scoring title.
Alrighty. Anything else on the NBA?
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah.
All right. Let's head into football. Start with college. This updated the college football playoff rankings. Got Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, TCU, Tennessee, LSU, USC, Bama, Clemson, and Utah running out the top 5. So you got 3 SEC in the top 6 and 4 in the top 8. Stefan, put your bias aside. Now, this might not be the most appealing question for Aaron, but we're Carolina fans, so we have to discuss it. Give me a case for why, because I already know your answer is yes. So give me a case why UNC should be higher than 13.
Perfect. This is where my talking out their ass comes into conversation. Last night, the chairman of the selection committee, right, is the NC State athletic director. He was asked why they have USC so high, or like what is USC's like case for being number 7 outside of just their record. And he said, well, they have an offense, despite how bad their defense is, they have an offense that is averaging 40 points a game and over 500 yards of offense a game. Well, guess what other offense is doing that? North Carolina, and they're 6 spots lower. 6. And the strength of schedule, 43 to 48. Not big of a difference. Each team's best win is on the road at a team that's ranked or been previously ranked up until last week. Oregon State just came into the rankings. Wake Forest was ranked until last week, and they were number 10 a couple weeks ago. Outside of that, North Carolina has more wins against teams with ranked opponents. I'm not saying North Carolina should be ahead of USC, but the fact that they are 6 spots ahead of UNC is outrageous. I had to think of the right word to use there. Outrageous.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think you think they probably like margin of victory. That's probably their argument, right?
You guys mentioned, Steph, you mentioned talking out their ass. If we had a segment called winning by the hair of their ass, we'd talk about UNC every week, nearly every week. Like,
hey, a win is a win.
I think you can make a case for UNC being a top 10 team, but I'm not like hung up on where they're at just because I'm not saying so many narrow, like, I just don't think they're a dominant team is the main thing.
Because of the style of basketball they play, because their defense is so bad, they're never going to blow anybody out.
No, football.
Sorry, football, not basketball. Sorry, the style of football that they play, they don't have a good defense, so they're never going to blow anybody out.
Yeah.
But nobody has proven they can slow down that offense.
I will say Drake May is an NFL quarterback. What he's doing is incredible as a freshman. I think he's way better than Trubisky ever was, and people were slobbering over him as a prospect. So Drake May better get that same love next season because I think he's a top quarterback in next year's draft.
Yeah, Mac Brown's been saying there's been a ton of scouts at every practice, and I've been seeing a lot of stuff. I don't know if I'd go as far. Some of these
there's been obviously we follow a bunch of Carolina accounts on Twitter, and there's been some outrageous takes by people that I like see them retweet. He's now been compared to Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Tom Brady, and there's one more. There were 6 of them.
The one that I can actually maybe see out of that is Herbert. I don't agree with any of the other ones, but I can see the Herbert comparison.
Yeah, agreed. But I was like, with all these comparisons, he has to work out in the NFL.
I agree, though. He should be the number 1 quarterback next year. Yeah, he throws such a beautiful deep ball, and I think NCAA football release, I think perfect cover is him and Caleb Williams side by side.
Mm-hmm. Because that's your debate for the number 1 pick in the draft next year.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Go ahead.
I think, but should they be ranked higher? Yes. I would personally have them 11. I would have them over Oregon and Utah. Look, Penn State, I would have Penn State still ahead of them. Penn State outside of Ohio State and Michigan has blown everybody out. They deserve to be number 10 for right now. Obviously, Carolina jumps them in my mind after they beat NC State next weekend, hopefully, into the 10 spot. But right now, Carolina should be 11, not 13, in my opinion.
So, Stefan, real quick, they beat NC State, beat Clemson. Is there an argument for them for the college football playoff?
Yes. Like we've said, every one-loss Power 5 champion has made the college football playoff. And they would fit that criteria. Now, it's a different year than years past, I will say. Like, you're going to have a one-loss Michigan team or Ohio State team. You're going to have a one-loss Tennessee team that's going to be up there. You're going to have a one-loss TCU team that's going to be up there, potentially. But
I know our friends they're calling us biased and stuff. I'm not saying North Carolina's a top 4 team. They're probably far from that, but just based off what the committee likes, what the criteria is and all that. Yeah. And if you do like the blind resume, yeah, I'd agree. Any other disagreements or anything about the college football playoff?
The committee's setting themselves up to be able to put 3 SEC teams in. Or an LSU upset of Georgia away and a K-State upset of TCU away. And from that potentially happening.
Oh, there just should never, unless you go to, even with 8 teams, I'm hesitant to do 3 from one conference. 3 and a 4 would just be, that would be nuts to me. I mean, it would just confirm everyone's opinions of what the committee thinks of the SEC.
So this is, I'll do my other talking out their ass quick just because we're kind of on the topic. Paul Feinbaum and Stephen A. Smith were just laying into TCU because this isn't the Oklahoma Big 12, it's the TCU Big 12. And it's like, if the SEC, like Alabama is not a college football playoff team, you can say, this is not the Alabama SEC, this is the whoever SEC, but that argument is only ever used for conferences outside the Big 10 and SEC, honestly. Like, TCU is undefeated, and they're going to find a way to fault them for being undefeated because it's a down year for Oklahoma, and okay, TCU is still beating everyone on their schedule, and they are a good team. You can watch TCU and see that they are a good team. And Paul Feinbaum is such an SEC hack. I can't stand to listen to him anytime he's on any show because he's just has such a clear bias. And then he got Stephen A. Smith into it, and we all know Stephen A. Smith is just obnoxious. So yeah, that was my other talking out there just before I forget about it.
What's sad too is that's I think that's a common belief amongst the national media and Vegas. Yes. Vegas has been low on TCU all season. I mean, Texas. What was the line last week?
Texas was favored by 7, and this week TCU is favored by 2 over Baylor. That's what I was about to say.
And TCU is honestly, TCU is so much better than Baylor right now. Them being favored by 2 is so disrespectful. I don't understand that at all.
Between the college football playoff and what I just said about Vegas, I mean, a lot of these people just hang on to the brand of these programs instead of looking at the team from this particular season. I mean, Texas, can we get off their high horse? I mean, I don't know how they're projected I don't know how they were favored by 7 over undefeated number 4 TCU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Vegas loves Texas. They've been favored in every game except for Bama. Every single one of them.
And also, if we're going to use like a down year for the Big 12 as why TCU isn't as good, Texas, who's been down from their historic success for how many years now, lost to 2 by Alabama. And I know that Alabama is not a college football playoff team, but like the national media still loves Alabama. And a Big 12 team narrowly lost without Quinn Ewers when they were actually looking like they had a shot to win with him.
They beat Bama if he doesn't get hurt, in my mind.
I think that too, but no, it's a down year for the Big 12 because Oklahoma got completely gutted. And
What were they favored? They were favored by what, like 14 against Iowa State, Texas?
16.5.
yeah,
Which was just outrageous. Yeah, I don't know. We'll take a quick break and then come back and pick our biggest college football games of the week as well as NFL after that. So moving into our top 5 games of college football this week. First off, we got TCU Baylor. We were just discussing TCU only favored by, what do we say, 2 in this game, 2.5.
Yeah.
We all have TCU unanimously here.
yeah, I really don't have much to say about it. I just think TCU is clearly the better team. I think TCU wins, and I'm not going to say it's not close, but I don't think it's going to be in doubt.
Yeah, I feel pretty confident. Speaking of Steph, we should bet on that one, -2.5.
Yeah, that's definitely going in the parlay.
Yeah, and I mean, Max, I always thought it was Dugan, but I guess I thought in high school I thought it was Dugan, but I guess many of the announcers say Duggan, whatever. He's taken a massive step forward, but Quentin Johnston, he's just a man amongst boys. Yeah, I've got TCU pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
Stock, anything else?
No, I don't really think it's going to be close. We saw what happened when Baylor played a good team last week in K-State. They got beat 31-3. And for whatever reason, Vegas loves Baylor.
Vegas also loves, once again, their big name schools, Oklahoma State at Oklahoma. They got Oklahoma favored by 7.5, I believe. Oklahoma State obviously just squeaked by last week against Iowa State. I don't want to bring that one up. I'm picking Oklahoma State in this game, assuming Spencer Sanders plays. I'm not sure if he is. Kind of a weird situation because Brett McMurphy tweeted before that Iowa State game he wasn't playing, and then he appeared on some random snaps throughout that game against Iowa State. But when he did appear on those series, I mean, you could just tell their offense is way better with him. Obviously, a veteran starter. Yeah, they've fallen off lately. They were top 15, top 10 a few weeks ago. I'm taking Okie State though if Sanders plays.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think when Sanders did play against Iowa State, he was zipping it all over. And I know for a shoulder injury, I can't remember if it was his throwing arm or non-throwing, but he still looked really good. And the way he was playing against Iowa State's defense, I think he would shred Oklahoma's if he does play. I also think Oklahoma as a touchdown favorite is insane. They've lost 2 straight. And I know Oklahoma State is kind of having a rough go of it, but I don't think Oklahoma's a touchdown better. I think it's more likely that Oklahoma State is a touchdown better than Oklahoma. I think that's a terrible line.
Yep.
I think the line's awful, but I think Oklahoma wins the game. So, dude, I'm not a believer in Oklahoma State at all. Spencer Sanders or not. In Oklahoma, ever since the 3-game losing streak, they've lost once since then. So I think they kind of righted the ship a little bit. Plus, it's in Oklahoma. And I don't see Oklahoma losing to both Texas and Oklahoma State in the same year.
So Iowa State, just real quick, obviously having a tough season there, 4-6. I had to look up what SP plus means, which it means. Do you guys know what it means?
Mm-mm.
It's like it says predictive and sustainable and predictive aspects of football. I don't know if it's. I don't know.
I know I've seen that ranking before. I know what you're probably about to say because there's a lot of rankings that if Iowa State had a good offense, they're like I saw
So
if they had the 2021 offense, which is not even their best offense.
Don't say it. Have Stefan guess.
Okay.
That if they had a 2021 offense with this defense, where would they rank in the country in SP plus?
Top 5.
6th.
Yeah, dude, like Iowa State's defense is up there with Iowa's defense, if that says anything. And everyone knows how good Iowa's defense is.
Seriously, like Georgia, Iowa, and Iowa State, like okay, Georgia's defense is better, but they're all like comparable, which just makes this season's offense even more just it's
I mean,
just
Spence,
tough to deal with.
we joked about it, but if you could take Iowa State's defense and pair it with North Carolina's offense, it's the best team in the country.
Yeah. And then I said if you pair Iowa State's offense with North Carolina's defense, you have the worst team in FBS.
True. That team loses every game by 50.
Also, just another big thing for Iowa State is that their special teams is like 115th in the country or whatever it is. If their special teams were just even in the top 50, there'd be a couple more games that went their way this year.
I'm not saying Campbell should be on the hot seat or anything, Matt Campbell, but I think he definitely deserves some criticism for. I mean, when you lose that many close games, I mean, some of it has to go back to the coach.
100%.
He's way too loyal to his guy. I mean, there's so much talk about Kirk and Brian Ferentz, which I think it is worse because Brian Ferentz is his son. Mm-hmm. But like Matt Campbell's got his college roommate as offensive coordinator and someone who played for him at Toledo as offensive line coach, and the offensive line has not developed at all. It's terrible. And the offense is terrible. And the main thing, like Purdy regressed. Like, I think we all love Brock Purdy, but he regressed over the course of his career. And just in the snaps that I've seen him take with the 49ers, both in the regular season and the preseason, he looked like freshman Brock Purdy, where he was just going out there and able to be himself. Hunter Dekkers this year has not developed one bit. And I think that ultimately falls on coaching. They have this weird thing where they try to turn guys who are really good at running like RPOs and scrambling. They try to just turn them into pocket passers, and they coach that aspect out of them. It's the same thing they did with Purdy. And when Dekkers has scrambled and been able to pick up some first downs here and there, I think he's looked really good when he does that. But they just get away from the RPO stuff for whatever reason that really works for them. And it's infuriating to see because, yeah, I think pretty much the entire offensive staff needs to go outside of Nate Scheelhaase, but I don't see Campbell doing that at all.
Yeah, I think, and Taylor, what's his name? The tight end
coach.
Oh,
Taylor Hauser.
Yeah. I think I'd rather be getting blown out in these games, to be honest. I mean, I don't maybe like those years when we were like 2-10, but I can't remember so many heartbreaking losses. Like, oh my gosh, every single game just feels like a heartbreaker. And then I mean, you have like that Jalen Noel dropped 78-yarder right in his hands.
There's something every game.
X dropped the one against Texas.
Yeah, there's something every game that keeps.
And then Tyler Miller has like 3 penalties on the final drive. He shouldn't see the field. Yeah, we'll get off Iowa State. SEC matchup real quick: Ole Miss or Arkansas?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. Arkansas is so inconsistent. They lose to Liberty and then have a nail biter against LSU. I don't trust them at all.
We just don't know what Ole Miss's or Arkansas's quarterback play is.
I was gonna say, is Jefferson plays, I think I would take Arkansas, but yeah, I don't know. And then we got two Pac-12 matchups. I think quietly, I think the Pac-12 is the second best conference this year. I guess you could say third.
It's not quiet.
Big Ten definitely has they have more elite teams with Michigan State, or not Michigan State, Michigan and Ohio State, and then Penn State. But I think Pac-12 has 5 really good teams. USC, UCLA face each other this weekend. Who do you guys got?
I think UCLA wins. USC, look, their offense is insanely good. Don't get me wrong, but the one time they've played another team with similar talent, they lost this year. I know it was on the road at a tough Utah team, but USC was also a lot healthier when they went into that game than they are now. Look, Mario Williams still hasn't played in the last 3 games. Jordan Addison played like 2 series last week against Colorado, had 1 catch for 2 yards, and then he came out. And I don't know if it was just because they realized, hey, let's just make sure he's completely healthy for next week when we play UCLA, or if he re-injured it. But that's where they're at. Obviously, lost Travis Dye last week for the season.
Did they really?
Yeah, he got carted off with a knee injury. And I think UCLA is coming off a upset loss. I think they bounce back and win that game.
Yeah, first of all, I think this is the best and most consequential UCLA-USC matchup in years. I'd have to think about the last time this game actually mattered as much as it does. So I like that in and of itself. UCLA is coming off that gross loss to Arizona. USC is still kind of playing for a shot at the college football playoff. If they lose another game, they're out. I think that's a valuable motivator for USC, but I also think bouncing back from their loss and upsetting USC is a valuable motivator for UCLA. So I think I am leaning UCLA too. I think USC can win this game, but I'm going to lean UCLA.
I think Spencer disagrees with us based off these reactions.
No, I just got a notification. LaMelo Ball appeared to roll his ankle. Not good for the fantasy team. 5th injury to this team. Yeah, I'm taking UCLA. I think it goes beyond what Stefan said and the talent level. I think it's more also kind of like those Oregon teams back in the day. I think when USC faces a more physical group, they're going to struggle. And UCLA has a running game. Zach Charbonnet used to play for Michigan. He's averaging 143 rushing yards a game. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I think, is one of the more underrated quarterbacks. He can run the ball. And then, yeah, the injuries for USC are mounting up, obviously. So, yeah, I'm going to take UCLA in this one. I think overall the Pac-12 being better, though, is I don't know. I think it's fun just because those late games are actually watchable instead of being snooze fest.
Yep, 100%.
And then last one, Utah at Oregon. What do you, Aaron? What do you think?
I think if Bo Nix plays, I think I'll take Oregon. If he doesn't with that injury he sustained last week, I'm going to take Utah. So for me, it really comes down to if Bo Nix plays. I know Oregon is favored by 3 at home. That means they're about even on a neutral site. And if Nix is out, I think that takes care of that. So, yeah, it comes down to Bo Nix. If he plays, Oregon. If Bo Nix does not play, Utah.
I like Utah either way. I think Utah, ever since the loss to Florida and UCLA early in the season, has kind of righted the ship. They were a preseason like number 7, I believe, or something. They were preseason top 10. They were expected to be really good. Cam Rising's a very underrated quarterback in college football. And they're physical. They're a really physical team. And typically the team that's more physical dominates the line of scrimmage, wins. And we kind of saw Oregon get pushed around last week against Washington. And so Utah's even more physical. So I like Utah to win the game regardless.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I got Utah as well. Kind of similar to what I was just talking about when Utah dominated or beat USC earlier this season. As you said, more physical bunch. Oregon's still in that same mold of those days of when they had Chip Kelly years ago. So yeah, I like the more physical bunch in this one in Utah. Okay, with that, we'll head into the NFL. Start off with a quick top three of our current MVP rankings heading into week 11. Yeah, for the NFL. I'll say, Stefan, I'll let you go first.
Mahomes won. He has to be one in my mind. I'm still gonna put Hurts 2. Saquon 3.
That's exactly what I have. Mahomes, drop off, Hurts, Barkley. I think Josh Allen is 4th, but he's played himself outside the top 3. And if I had to do a top 5, I'd actually put Tua at 5.
Yeah, I would have 2 in the top 5 as well. Hopefully Jackson's not listening.
I got Mahomes, Hurts. Fudge. If he had more touchdowns, I can't say him. Golly. It's kind of a crap show right now. Yeah. I'll say what you guys said. Not Saquon. I'll take Josh Allen 3, I guess.
Leads the
Maybe
league in
Geno.
interceptions. # not my MVP.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Also,
rough.
I think there's a very realistic path to where Josh Allen is the new Brett Favre. Like, turnover machine, but also like such an insane gunslinger. Like, I think that's actually a realistic thing that could happen. The way he's trending right now.
All right. I was just thinking top 3 most impactful players in the NFL, non-quarterbacks, like most valuable. I was thinking about this because I was thinking about my team.
TJ Watt.
I think TJ Watt legitimately has a case to be number 1. Steelers, I think when we beat the Bucks, that was our first win since he's came into the league without him in the lineup. I think we were like 0-9 before that. I mean, you can single-handedly. And I just saw a stat from Alex Kozora of Steelers Depot. They had their lowest blitz rate of the year last week, and they still had like 5 sacks. I mean, you can stop blitzing altogether and just do 4-man rushes with TJ in the lineup. Obviously, nobody can double Alex Highsmith now with Watt back. Your corners get better. I don't know. I think Watt has an argument for 1. What do you guys think?
So my top 3, I don't know what order I would do it, but Saquon, TJ Watt.
I'll before you go, I'm gonna say I feel like it's like a Steph effect because you have to track him wherever he's at on the court, and I feel like it has a positive influence on his teammates. I'll say. Who would you say that is?
Tyreek.
Okay, I'll also say Saquon and TJ Watt. I think 3 is Tyreek Hill or Justin Jefferson. If you take Justin Jefferson off the Vikings, they have a losing record. Like, he's that important to the Vikings. Like, if you take him off the Vikings, they have Dalvin Cook, but they're not going to get that run game going with not as good Adam Thielen and KJ Wright as the top 2 receivers. That's just not that good. So I think you got to have Justin Jefferson there. Also, just since you gave some love to TJ Watt, Spence, I'm going to give some love to Quinnen Williams just because he's having like the exact same stats as years that Aaron Donald won Defensive Player of the Year at the same position. And the Jets have the lowest blitz rate in the entire NFL, but like the 4th or 5th most pressures. And that's because Quinnen Williams is so insane. So I think similar to how TJ Watt is for the Steelers, the Jets don't even need to blitz because of what a wrecking ball Quinnen Williams is. He's not in my top 3, but he's up there as far as like the Jets defense goes.
I guess the reason I took Jefferson's definitely in it. I guess the reason I took Tyreek is I'm trying to think what else. I guess they changed head coaches. McDaniel deserves credit, but Tyreek was like the main change in that offense, and they went from being, average to elite. I just think his impact is crazy.
He stretched out their offense. I mean, Waddle was still great, but Waddle is not like
I
Tyreek
think
Hill
Waddle
completely stretched out that offense.
Yeah, because I think Waddle was averaging he was all short. I think it was all like 9 yards per catch last year.
Mm-hmm.
Could be wrong. Steph, anything to add? I will say, I don't want to hear anybody ever compare T.J. Watt to Myles Garrett. Please.
TJ Watt and Myles Garrett is the new Von Miller, Khalil Mack, with Von being TJ Watt. It actually translates to wins.
All right, let's get into our weekly picks. Yeah, let's do our weekly picks real quick, and then we will discuss our top teams after that. First, we got Titans Packers Thursday Night Football. Not too many great games this week. We had some struggles last week, 6-8. Aaron and I kind of got lucky because we picked the Vikings over the Bills, assuming Josh Allen wouldn't play, and I would not have stuck with that pick if Josh Allen played. Yeah, a miracle of a win too. I mean, yeah, that was crazy.
That was the game of the year, undisputably so far.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So Titans at Packers Thursday Night Football. Packers obviously just upset the Cowboys at home. Kind of crazy to say upset. Came back from behind in that one. Christian Watson with a breakout game. We all picked the Packers. Aaron, are you ready to say they're back on track?
I'm not ready to say they're back on track, but I am ready to say that I don't think the Titans are that good. Their receivers leave much to be desired. I think Mike Vrabel is a good coach, and Derrick Henry is like a generational player, but that's all they got. And Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers at the end of the day. He hadn't been playing well earlier in the season, but especially if Christian Watson emerges as the number one option in the way he did last week, they're way more dangerous than the Titans are overall. So, yeah, I'm taking the Packers just because I think they're trending in the right direction right now, and the Titans are not.
I like the Packers. Short week. I think they kind of maybe figured out an identity last week. Not 100%, but potentially. And like Aaron said, I'm not a believer in the Titans at all. They just beat a bad Broncos team last week. A bad Broncos team. Barely.
I think the Titans, I think they really screwed things up with having two of the best talents in the league right now. I've seen Derrick Henry and then A.J. Brown with trading away Brown, and think you can just replace him with Treylon Burks, which granted he has been injured for a lot of the season, but it's not that simple. And then the contract they gave to Tannehill, I mean, everybody knew he wasn't worth that. I'm taking the Packers. We'll see if they're back on track. Not a believer yet, but we'll see. Next game, Jets at Patriots. Aaron and I both went with the Jets. Stefan with the Patriots. 5-4 and 6-3. Big matchup here, especially for the playoffs. I know every AFC East team is in the playoffs right now. That probably won't stand if I had to guess. So I mean, this is a huge matchup even for the division if the Bills continue to string together a few losses. But especially a wild card matchup. Stock anything on this game?
Yeah, I took the Patriots just because for whatever reason, Belichick has made Zach Wilson look incompetent in all 3 games, I'm pretty sure. I know of at least 2 of them. Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong on all 3 that he's played against him in his career.
One of them was just not good, but not awful, but the other 2 were really bad.
And now he's coming off a bye week where he's had an extra week to prepare for Zach Wilson. And right, they were on a bye last week, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the Jets were too, but yeah, the Patriots were on a bye.
Yeah. And look, Saleh's a good coach, and I hate to admit it, but the Jets have made me look stupid all year. They're better than I've given them credit for, but it's just a matchup thing. For whatever reason, Zach just doesn't look good against them, and I think it continues this week.
Should I go last, Spencer, or you want to go?
I'll say I really wish, not just being an Iowa State fan, I wish Brees was still healthy. Honestly, the Jets defense is elite at this point, or beyond just it being the first 2 weeks of the season. I think the Jets would be an intriguing team to watch in the postseason. I'm just not sure. Without Brees, I'm just not sure they can do much damage. But, yeah, nonetheless, with that defense, you mentioned Zach Wilson. Yeah, I mean, I think the Jets defense will do the same to the Patriots offense, so I'm not too concerned there. I'll take Jets.
I just think it's time to exercise those damn demons against the Patriots. Like, if the Jets are for real, this is the game where it's been the matchup nightmare for years. This is the game that you just go into Foxborough, and Mac Jones is trash. You just make him look like trash. Zach Wilson doesn't need to be Superman, but just play the way he did against the Bills, because the way he played against the Bills was very encouraging coming off that game against the Patriots. He was hanging in the pocket. His stats didn't jump off the page, but that's because the Jets had almost 200 rushing yards. But he was standing in the pocket, firing the passes he needed to. He wasn't abandoning and scrambling for no reason. And I also think there were very big factors at play. Like, that game against the Patriots was the first game without Breece Hall, Elijah Vera Tucker, and Corey Davis, top 3 players on offense. And now, after that Bills game, they've seemed like they've kind of figured out how they need to work on offense without those guys. So I'm taking the Jets just because I believe in Robert Saleh, and I think they can finally make a state. I mean, the Bills was kind of a statement game, and the Packers, since it was at Lambeau, somewhat. But, like, this is really the game to make a statement and just go in there and because, I mean, I'm just being honest, I don't think the Patriots are that great. And the verdict is still out on the Jets somewhat, but this is the game to go into Foxborough and just win it. And I've been picking against the Jets all year because they were on a winning streak when I was picking against them. But I'm taking them in this one just because for the first time in a long time, I actually believe in this team going into Foxborough and getting a win.
Next game, Browns at Bills. I picked
Wow, Spence. Wow.
Here's my reasoning.
Because it's a snowstorm?
You've got 31 inches of snow in the forecast. And when you get in these kind of the ground and pound games, the Browns are one of the best in the NFL with Chubb and Hunt in their nasty offensive line. Now, obviously, Josh Allen can run the ball, so it'll definitely present challenges, but I don't see how there's going to be much passing in this game. I could be wrong. But yeah, and obviously the Bills don't have, Singletary is nothing great. So yeah, I just expect this one to be solely pretty much on the ground. So I'm going to take the Browns.
Yeah, I can see that. Apparently the NFL's monitoring the weather and might move it. Which if they do that, I think
I want to see a shady
200
200-yard performance.
Yes, like I think it would be something cool to see that. But you don't see games like this very often. It'd be fun watch, despite it probably being like a 10-7 ball game. Either way, I don't think the Bills lose 3 in a row.
That's fair.
So that's why I took the Bills.
Yeah, I pretty much feel the same way. And I have my doubts on if this game is even going to be played in Buffalo. So that's also part of the reason I took the Bills. If it is played in Buffalo, then I totally get the Browns pick. But overall, I do think Josh Allen is just going to be the best player on the field, and regardless of the weather, I just don't see the Bills dropping another game, especially like they've lost to good teams the past 2 games, and I don't believe they're going to lose a third straight when it's against the Browns.
So Browns average 5th most rushing yards per game. Bills 10th. Just a real quick guess. Who do you guys think has won?
Rushing yards per game.
Team.
Have the Bears crept up there?
Bears are 1 with 201.
I could see that with how
That's
much
crazy.
Fields runs the ball.
That's crazy. All right, let's get into our. Let's go to Sunday Night Football. Chiefs at Chargers. We'll see if I don't think Mike Williams is supposed to be back. Keenan Allen, who knows? I mean, he's been week to week now. It feels like for over a month. With his typical hamstring issues. Yeah. You guys give the Chargers any chance here? At home.
I mean, I don't think the Chiefs have any running game at all. But at the same time, if you want any guy throwing it that many times a game, it's Mahomes. So that's something. I think that's going to be something to watch for the rest of the season and postseason with the Chiefs. Just that they literally can't run the ball to save their lives. That being said, I'm still taking the Chiefs just because Mahomes is that good. I'm kind of conflicted as a Jets fan just because if the Chiefs win, it helps the Jets in the wild card. But if the Chargers win and the Jets win, the Jets are top in the AFC. So that's something to watch for me personally. But when it comes down to it, Mahomes is the best player in the NFL. I'm not going to pick against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm not picking against the Chiefs either. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen both practiced today on a limited basis. We'll see if they play. I don't think they will. But if they do, then maybe. Yeah, either way, I'm not betting against Mahomes, like you said. Regardless if they can't run the ball or not, you still got to stop Mahomes. And until somebody proves they can do that, I'm pretty much going to pick the Chiefs every single week.
Yeah, I think something to watch in this game is Aaron. You mentioned the running game. I think something to watch is Isaiah Pacheco. He's taken over the early down work recently. Had 16 for 82 last week. Yeah, we'll see. Clyde Edwards-Helaire looks like he's completely relegated to the bench. He's been a bust.
Yeah, 4 snaps last week.
Yeah, so
Pacheco also had a fumble last week too. Their running backs just overall are not that reliable.
No, I would say Pacheco is probably their best runner, which isn't saying something, but yeah, we'll see. Now getting into what I think is the game of the week, Cowboys at Vikings. Interesting game here. Vikings coming off that emotional win. Cowboys coming off that heartbreaking loss to the Packers. I think we discussed this last week or 2 weeks ago. Who we think is number 2 and 3 in the NFC right now. I chose Cowboys. I trust their defense more. Vikings did impress last week against Josh Allen, but I just trust the Cowboys defense more overall. I expect Dak to be better than he has been too. And then hopefully even if Zeke returns, hopefully they stick with Pollard on the ground because each week passes by and each week Tony Pollard shows why he should be the starter. But I guess that's just a biased fantasy owner speaking. Stock, what do you think?
I took the Cowboys more because I think the Vikings' luck has to run out eventually. They've won 7 straight 1-possession games. Like that just doesn't happen in the NFL. 7 straight weeks 1-possession games. And eventually it's got to end. I mean, last week I thought it was going to end, and then Josh Allen fumbled at the 1-yard line. So, who knows? Look, the Vikings play everybody close. It's going to be another close game. I don't trust either quarterback in moments, to be honest. Dak hasn't given me any reason to trust him. and obviously Kirk Cousins. We know how he does in big moments.
He played bad against the Bills too. They won with Jefferson making crazy catches, but Cousins was bad in that game.
Yeah, so that's it's not a primetime game, but it's about the closest thing to a primetime game. 325 slot, national TV. Clearly the main game everybody's going to be watching, although neither me or Spence will have that game on because both our teams play at 3. But yeah, I don't truly believe in the Vikings still.
I don't truly believe in the Vikings, but I also don't believe in the Cowboys. So I'm mostly taking the Vikings because they're at home, even though when it comes to that luck aspect, I completely agree. The beating the Bills was a statement win, but the Bills made so many, specifically Josh Allen, made so many mistakes and handed them that game, in spite of Kirk Cousins playing really bad. I know Justin Jefferson has also been limited in practice with a toe injury. That's something to keep an eye on. But if he does play, I am curious to see what will happen because he's been shut down by Jeff Okudah and Darius Slay this year and pretty much feasted against everyone else. I think it's possible that what he does to Trayvon Diggs on Sunday will be absolutely like Trayvon Diggs is not that great of a cover corner. So that is something to keep an eye on. I also saw since the merger in 1970, I think the Vikings have the worst point differential of any 8-1 team all time, which is crazy. So yeah, I just think because they're at home and I like the Justin Jefferson matchup, I'm gonna take them. I do think their luck runs out at some point, but I just don't believe in the Cowboys either. That's really the main reason I'm picking the Vikings.
All right, before we head out, Aaron, you got a throwback legend of the week. I think me and Stefan been doing what did we do last week? Was it NBA?
Yeah.
Yeah, NBA throwback legend.
Oh gosh. Let me think for a second. I didn't
While
know.
Aaron thinks of it, I just want to give out my weekly Broncos are really bad stat. Let's see. They are on pace to become the first team in NFL history, since the merger, to lead the league in points allowed, which is they're giving up like 15 points a game. And they're also dead last in points scored with 14.6. They'll be the first team in NFL history to do it. So yeah, go Broncos.
Hold up. If they scored 18 points in every regulation game, I saw they'd have one loss.
Yes, they would be 8-1 if they scored exactly 18 points in every regulation game. The only loss would be to the Raiders. And they can't score.
See, I took the Broncos this week, and I'm assuming Spencer did for the same reason, just because the Raiders are. It's scary times in Vegas right now.
That game is so bad that I think the coach gets fired.
Well, I saw the Raiders. I saw McDaniels is going to be with the Raiders through the end of next season because they can't afford to cut him.
They are a cash poor franchise. They literally can't afford it.
Okay, well, if the Broncos lose, Nathaniel Hackett's fired.
All right, Aaron, who's your throwback legend?
All right, I pulled this one together quick just because we've been talking about Giannis is the best player in the NBA, Bucks possibly the best player or best team in the NBA. So I'm throwing it back to when it was not going so great in Milwaukee, the Bucks' best player. Anyone remember Michael Redd?
Lefty, I knew it.
The lefty Michael Redd, he averaged over at least 22 points per game for 5 straight seasons, and then he still averaged 21 in 2008. Injuries kind of made him fall off, but he used to be the franchise guy. As much as you can have a franchise guy on a losing team for the Bucks, they really were just never able to put other players around him. But yeah, Michael Redd, the lefty sharpshooter for the Bucks.
I thought you were going to go with the Monte Ellis pick.
Hey, those are good ones, but with those two, I raise you guys Brandon Jennings.
Another lefty legend.
One-hit wonder, even had his own, I think, Under Armour shoes made.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right, that'll do it for this week's episode of the 515 Sports Pod. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at the 515 Sports Pod. Like and subscribe to our YouTube. We'll also be dropping 2 separate episodes this week revolved around the World Cup, so tune into those. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next week.